Phone covers and cable covers. Families knew that even the smallest details in a home could tell a story of pride and care. The rotary telephone sitting on the hallway table was not just a communication device, it was a statement piece. Women draped handmade crocheted covers over the phone body, transforming utilitarian plastic into art. The cords, too, received attention. Fabric wraps or carefully sewn sleeves kept them tidy and elegant. This was not about hiding the phone. It was about declaring that every corner of the home deserved beauty, even when money was tight. Grandmothers spent evenings creating these covers, their fingers moving with the precision of generations past. The act itself became a lesson. Dignity was not purchased, it was crafted. Children watched and learned that making something beautiful from nothing was a form of resistance against a world that often told them they deserved less. The telephone cover said, "We are here, we matter, and we honor our space." It was a small act that carried tremendous weight, a refusal to accept that poverty meant living without grace. Basement parties in the Soul Train line. When families could not afford nightclub cover charges or babysitters, they created their own sanctuaries of joy. Basement parties transformed concrete floors and exposed pipes into dance halls filled with soul, funk, and laughter. Someone always brought records: Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Isley Brothers, and the music became the heartbeat of the gathering. But the true magic happened when someone shouted, "Soul Train Line!" The crowd split down the middle, forming two parallel lines. And one by one, dancers took their turn down the center. It was not rehearsed, it was spontaneous genius. Each person bringing their own flavor, their own moves, their own story told through the body. Children watched their parents and aunties transform, becoming artists in motion. This ritual was more than entertainment. It was communion. It was a declaration that joy could not be rationed or restricted by economic circumstance. In those basements, with music reverberating off the walls, families built memories that no recession, no discrimination, no hardship could erase. The Soul Train Line was a moving prayer of resilience. 3. Plastic covers on Sunday's best. In closets across Black neighborhoods, the most cherished garments lived protected lives. Sunday clothes, the dresses, suits, and church hats, hung encased in clear plastic garment bags or homemade fabric covers. These were not everyday clothes. These were armor, vestments of dignity worn to worship and community gatherings. Mothers and grandmothers understood that these garments had to last. There was no budget for seasonal wardrobes or fashion trends. The plastic covers kept dust, moths, and time itself at bay. On Saturday nights, children watched as these sacred pieces emerged, pressed and perfect, smelling faintly of lavender sachets tucked into the bags. The ritual of covering and uncovering Sunday's best taught reverence. It taught that some things are worth protecting, worth preserving. It showed that even with limited resources, one could maintain standards of excellence. When a child wore that preserved dress or suit, they carried not just fabric, but the accumulated care of everyone who came before them. The plastic cover was invisible to outsiders, but within the community, it represented an unspoken covenant. We will not let hardship diminish us. 4. Crochet toilet paper covers. In bathrooms that might have outdated fixtures or mismatched tiles, one element always stood out: the crocheted doll atop the spare toilet paper roll. These decorative covers, often featuring a doll whose wide skirt concealed the tissue beneath, were not mere kitsch. They were declarations of refinement. Grandmothers and mothers spent hours creating these pieces, their hands working yarn into elaborate patterns. The dolls wore ball gowns and bright colors, their skirts billowing over the practical necessity they hid. Visitors who used the bathroom understood immediately. This family values beauty. This family refuses to be ordinary. The toilet paper cover was a small rebellion against the narrative that poor meant tasteless or uncaring. It said, even here, in this most private space, we choose elegance. Children grew up understanding that presentation mattered, that taking pride in one's environment was not vanity, it was self-respect. The crocheted doll became a symbol, teaching that grace could exist anywhere if you had the creativity and determination to place it there. 5. The Spit-Shine Shoe Ritual. Before school each morning, a sacred ritual unfolded. Children sat still while parents or older siblings applied spit to scuffed shoe leather, rubbing vigorously with an old t-shirt until the shoes gleamed. It was not laziness that led to spit, it was necessity. Professional polish was expensive, but pride was free. And a little saliva mixed with determination created a shine that rivaled any store-bought product. This ritual was never rushed, it was intentional. As hands worked the leather, conversations happened. Advice was given. Stories were shared. The act of shining shoes became a meditation on preparation, on facing the world with your best self forward, even when the world seemed determined to keep you down. Teachers and classmates might not have known the story behind those gleaming shoes, but the child wearing them knew. They knew that someone loved them enough to spend those extra minutes. They knew that appearance mattered, not for vanity's sake, but because in a society quick to judge, a polished shoe could open a door, shift a perception, create an opportunity. The Spit-Shine was humble, but its message was profound. Never give the world an excuse to underestimate you. 6. The company couch under plastic. In living rooms across Black America, the finest piece of furniture, often the newest, most expensive item in the home, lived under thick plastic slip covers. The company couch was reserved for guests, for special occasions, for moments that mattered. Children knew not to sit there carelessly. That couch represented sacrifice, layaway payments, and dreams of upward mobility. The plastic was practical. It preserved the fabric beneath from spills, wear, and the passage of time. But it was also symbolic. It said, we have something worth protecting. It told visitors, you are important enough for us to unveil our best. The sound of plastic crinkling under weight became synonymous with formality and respect. Critics from outside the community sometimes mocked the plastic-covered furniture, but they missed the deeper truth. This was not about living in discomfort. It was about making strategic choices with limited resources. That couch had to last. There would be no replacement next year or the year after. The plastic cover was an insurance policy against premature aging, against accidents, against loss. It was wisdom wrapped in vinyl, teaching children the difference between temporary enjoyment and lasting value. 7. The Candy Lady's house. Every neighborhood had her. The Candy Lady. Her home was a makeshift corner store where children could buy penny candy, pickles in a jar, frozen cups, and chips, all from her living room or front porch. She was an entrepreneur before the term became fashionable, turning limited space into economic opportunity. Kids knew her inventory by heart. Now and laters, lemon heads, Mary Janes, Alexander the grape juice barrels. The candy lady's prices were fair, and sometimes when a child was a nickel short, she'd let them slide, with the understanding that they'd pay next time. Trust was currency in these transactions. But the candy lady was more than a merchant. She was a community anchor. She kept an eye on the neighborhood kids, knew who belonged and who did not. Her home became a gathering place, a safe zone where children learned about money, responsibility, and reciprocity. She modeled Black economic self-sufficiency, showing that you did not need a storefront to create value. The candy lady's hustle was dignified, necessary, and deeply respected. She was teaching capitalism with a soul, commerce with conscience. The kitchen window fan. Before central air conditioning was common in Black households, the box fan mounted in the kitchen window was essential technology. It pulled cooking smoke and heat out, drew fresh air in, and created a cross breeze that made summer evenings bearable. The hum of that fan became the soundtrack of home. Families strategically placed fans throughout the house, creating air currents that required understanding of basic physics. Open this window, close that door, angle the fan just right. These were survival skills passed down. Children learned to sleep with the sound of oscillating fan blades, the rhythmic back and forth becoming a lullaby. The box fan represented adaptive intelligence. It was an affordable solution to an expensive problem. Rather than lamenting the lack of central air, families engineered their own comfort systems. The fan taught resourcefulness, work with what you have, maximize every tool, and understand that comfort does not require luxury. The kitchen window fan was not a sign of poverty. It was evidence of practical genius. 9. Washing machine top as counter space. In kitchens where counter space was limited, the top of the washing machine became prime real estate. Whether the machine sat in the kitchen itself or in a nearby alcove, its flat surface served multiple purposes. Bread box, dish drying rack, small appliance station, or temporary storage for groceries awaiting their proper home. This multi-purpose use required organization and respect. Everyone in the household knew the system. Bread lived here in the morning, moved before laundry time, returned afterward. The dish rack appeared after dinner, disappeared before breakfast. It was choreography born of necessity. The washing machine top taught adaptability and spatial awareness. It showed children that limitations could be overcome through creativity and cooperation. There was no shame in a multi-purpose space, only pride in making the most of what you had. This was the architecture of resilience, where every square inch earned its keep and nothing was wasted. The washing machine was not just for cleaning clothes. It was a platform for living smart. 10. Switching channels with pliers. When television knobs broke off, and they always did, families did not immediately purchase a new set. Instead, a pair of pliers or a wrench took up permanent residence atop the TV. Changing channels became a deliberate act. Grip the metal stem with the tool, turn carefully, hold until the picture cleared. Children on channel-changing duty learned patience and precision. This was not the age of remote controls for most Black households. You walked to the TV, you used the pliers, you did not complain. The broken knob stayed broken, sometimes for years, because a new television was not in the budget and would not be until absolutely necessary. This ritual taught priorities. Entertainment was valuable, but it was not worth debt or sacrifice of more critical needs. The pliers atop the television were a symbol of making do, of refusing to be defeated by small inconveniences. They represented a philosophy: fix what you can, adapt to what you cannot, and keep moving forward. The family that changed channels with pliers was not broken. They were pragmatic, strategic, and unshakable in their focus on what truly mattered. 11. Saving every bread bag and butter container. Nothing was thrown away casually. Bread bags became sandwich carriers, shoe protectors on rainy days, or gloves for messy tasks. Butter containers, washed thoroughly, transformed into leftover storage, sewing kits, or organizers for small items like buttons and rubber bands. Mothers and grandmothers maintained collections of these repurposed items, stacked neatly in cabinets. To outsiders, it might have looked like hoarding, but within the community, it was recognized as wisdom. These saved items represented freedom from having to purchase specialized products. Why buy plastic wrap when a bread bag works? Why purchase Tupperware when butter containers seal perfectly? This practice taught environmental consciousness before it was trendy. It taught that waste was not just bad for the planet, it was bad economics. Every saved container was money staying in the pocket, resources preserved for more important needs. Children learned to see potential in everything, to never dismiss something as garbage until every possible use had been exhausted. The bread bag drawer was not about poverty. It was about intelligence, sustainability, and the refusal to be wasteful in a world that was often wasteful with their community. 12. The wall-mounted can opener. Mounted beneath kitchen cabinets, the manual can opener was not just a tool. It was a rite of passage. Children graduated to using it when they were deemed strong and coordinated enough to pierce the can lid, crank the handle, and navigate the sharp edge without injury. The wall-mounted can opener represented permanence and quality. It was not a flimsy gadget that would break and need replacing. It was metal, sturdy, built to last decades. Families took pride in their reliable tools, and this opener often outlived multiple generations of residents. Using the can opener taught mechanics and patience. It taught that some tasks required physical effort and could not be rushed. As the handle turned and the lid separated, children learned the satisfaction of manual work, of accomplishing something through their own power. In an age before electric can openers became standard, the wall-mounted manual version was dependable technology. It never needed batteries, never broke down, and always performed. It was emblematic of a broader philosophy: invest in quality, take care of your tools, and they will take care of you. And that wraps up part 1 of the traditions so many Black families remember from the 70s and 80s. If you want to see part 2, let me know in the comments, and feel free to share the memories you grew up with. I'd love to include some of your stories in the next video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and join us. We're keeping these memories alive together.